Hello YouTubers, Capitalist Educator installment 3. Thank you for watching for those of you who do. Quick segment today about the war on poverty and of course the plan to lift people out of poverty. On the basic side of it, we have $21 trillion spent over the last 50 years on the war on poverty. What have we got for our money? That's the highest number of people receiving food stamps than ever before. Almost 1 out of 2 households receiving some form of government assistance. The poverty rate in this country, that should shame everyone. And to me, it doesn't look like we had a war on poverty. It looks like we had a war on success and trying to get everybody to be, subsidized into poverty, because that's all that really happens when you get, these federal programs, free government money, is they're not enough to sustain anybody, but yet it's a wonderful thing to get it. Instead of going out there and getting a job and supporting myself on $26,000 a year, I'm gonna get $300 a week, and wow, that's a whole $15,000 a year. And boy, that just didn't add up to me. Quite frankly, we're $16 trillion in debt. Here's an exercise for everyone. Go out there, get the Forbes top 500 list. The bottom couple on that list aren't billionaires, so just the top 493, I think, are billionaires. Get out a calculator, add every bit of money up that those people are reported to have, and what do you get? About $1.6 trillion. It's actually a little bit less than 10% of our national debt. Now, that's not how much they make every year. That's how much they have. So if you confiscated every penny of what they have, not just tax them a little more, you confiscate every penny they have, you can almost pay off 10% of our debt. Ooh. So we don't have a taxing problem in this country. We have a spending problem. And we have a spending problem on the war on poverty. And it seems to me that the vehicle to get people out of poverty isn't government money, because, 50 years later, $21 trillion later, it hasn't worked. You can support, some people got some free money they need along the way. Okay, ruin their life for $300 a week. God, that's a good idea. Put them on a dependency cycle that they can't get out of. My solution, and I think a lot of solutions, I'm going to go all the way to the extremes on it. I think we need to trash the entire federal budget and start over with some rules. Of course, we should have a balanced budget amendment, but we shouldn't even get anywhere close to that. IRS system, taxation system included, everything out. Every law that we have out. Let's just start all that crap over. Number 1, federal budget redone. Every single line item on that budget be specific to its item and need, and cannot have any riders. In other words, if you need money for a highway, that has to be specified which highway, how much highway. Okay, so there's overages, then get that reapproved if they can't come in on budget. But you don't say, we'll do the highway, but let's add some money for some apartments in Boston and the mating habits of this fish and all that on top of it. No, every bill by law must be specific to its need. And if you can't get that passed, it's probably not needed. Secondly, number of laws. We should have a set number of laws. How many laws we need? If you took every IRS code, every federal CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations, and the laws that govern criminal activity, and you could probably fill up this room I'm sitting in right now. Tell me who understands all those. Nobody. I had a pharmacist tell me one time years ago that the feds could walk in and basically arrest everybody in any pharmacy across the world or across the nation, because there's so many laws that have just been rewritten and overwritten and changed, and the old ones are still in the books, that half the laws are in conflict with the other half of the laws. That it's just such a mess anymore. And anybody, pretty much any pharmacist could get arrested for something wrong. They cannot operate a pharmacy by the laws. And that's just, everything gets ridiculous in this country when you add government. The old saying is power corrupts, and absolute power absolutely corrupts. And it's the same thing in the power of the law. It might not be an individual person, but the entity of laws and regulations corrupt themselves as well. 1,500 laws. We have 1,500 laws. If they're all full, we have all 1,500 of them, and you have something you think is that important, you got to trash one of the other ones. You got to pick which law you don't like to throw out, so you can put this one in it. And every law should have to be voted on every 3 years to find out if it's actually useful, necessary, and correct. Budget totally redone. No pork, no riders. And tax code redone. The only business deductions, obviously, if you have to drive around in a car for business, then you can deduct the cost of doing so. Obviously, you can't build a product for $100, make $10 profit on it, and be taxed on the $100 at 25%, because you can't pay $25 in taxes on $10 profit. So the exact profit of your business needs to be determined correctly, and then at that point, flat tax you for what else without deductions. Corporations, we do that. We get the corporate tax down to 7, 8, 10%. We get the personal income tax down between 15 and 25%. If we go over and get rid of the junk out of our budgets, we could probably do it for that and have a surplus. But that's it's not the way votes are gotten in Washington. So people need votes, and people have to buy those votes, obviously. We could talk about term limits and stuff as well, but I think if you took that power away that corrupts the system, maybe not the individual, then I think that would fix itself. So, the last point in this segment, I think, is the leftist. I've heard from a couple of my socialist friends that capitalism, you have to rein it in. It gets to be too much. You have to limit it and rein it in. Well, from the bottom to the top, every single person benefits through capitalism. Will some benefit more? Sure. That's life and that's capitalism. And if they didn't benefit more, they wouldn't invest. They wouldn't do things that create the jobs. So the benefits to the lower man have to come in too, and they're not going to get the benefits if somebody's not there to provide it. And you can't provide that benefit through gifting and government near as much as that $15,000 doesn't equal the 25 to 30 to 50,000. As somebody progresses and has that upward mobility, it just can't be provided through the government. It has to be provided through the private individual markets. The only way to do that is to free them up. You can't expect upward mobility and jobs and the economic prosperity from a system you limit and control and hold back. You think about the big picture of that, it's insane. Well, let's limit the capitalism, but I want more of it. I want more from it, I should say. We want certain benefits, but we're going to hold it back. I think most of that's just a ideological and emotional response to, those people have money and capitalism and all these big businesses and all that. And there's no forethought or actual thought about the whole picture of everything that is encompassed and everything that is affected by those decisions. It's such one-mindedness to say, well, that guy just doesn't need another yacht. Okay, well, maybe he doesn't, but the yacht builder needs employees. The fuel that's purchased to run that yacht, the employees that are, used, plus the fact that if that man made enough money to buy that yacht, then he conducted business of some sort, which paid employees, because I don't know of any doctor who can run his operating room without the surgical nurses and the nurses that do recovery and the lab technicians and all that stuff. There's nobody that made all that money just by themselves. They had employees, they had people that worked for them. They had support companies that provided them product they purchased to resell. They had people transport that product. They had accountants to handle the taxes, and even the biggest, richest guy probably has more employees than the guy who makes $200,000 a year with a local convenience store. And that would make sense to me that if you limit that guy at the top, you also limit everything within his organization. That includes jobs, that includes suppliers, that includes truckers, that includes all the people that we just mentioned. Argue that. I know you can't, so I'm not worried about it. But, you can't hold back the system that's supposed to provide everything and wonder why it's not providing. That's the insanity of the left, I think. And that's my point. Argue it if you can.